Chapter 9, Getting People to Agree. Every day, some situation arises where we need to persuade another person to accept our viewpoint. Some disagreement comes up with our mate, children, boss, employee, customer, neighbor, friend, or enemy. The natural response is to argue. We must learn to make our natural response persuasion. When someone opposes our ideas, we take it as a threat to our ego. We become emotional and hostile and try to ram our ideas down our opponent's throat. We exaggerate our own arguments and ridicule our opponent's points. This way does not win. The only way to win an argument is to get others to change their minds. There are ways to induce others to see things your way. Low pressure is the secret. It all boils down to the theme of this book. If you want to have power with people, you must learn to work with human nature rather than against it. Tell someone their ideas are stupid and they will defend them forever. Ridicule their position and they have to save face. Use threats and they simply close their minds against your ideas, regardless of how good they may be. One of the strongest instincts is self survival, and that means ego as well as the body. For our own protection, we have to be careful about the ideas we accept and act upon. We immunize ourselves against ideas perceived as alien. Friends don't come at us hammer and tongues, so we just close our ears to ideas dressed up like enemies. When we attempt to sell ideas, we must appeal to the subconscious because no idea is really accepted until the subconscious mind accepts it. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Describes someone who has agreed to an idea with his conscious mind only. He gives lip service and appears to agree, but he will not act on the idea. There's only one way to get an idea accepted by the subconscious by suggestion. Try to slip an idea into someone's subconscious more or less unnoticed. You'll be successful in winning arguments to the degree that you succeed in slipping your ideas past the ego of the other person. His ego stands guard at the entrance to his subconscious. If it is aroused, it will not let your ideas pass. Rules for winning arguments. Allow others to state their case. Don't interrupt. Remember to listen. A person with something to say has their mind set for talking until they have said their piece. They are not tuned to listen to your ideas. If you want your ideas heard, learn to listen to the ideas first. Asking others to repeat their key points is very helpful when someone is agitated. Allowing them to vent reduces their hostility. Number 2, pause before you answer. This works equally well in conversation where there is no difference of opinion. When you are asked a question, look at the person and pause slightly before answering. This lets others know that you consider what he has said of sufficient importance to think about it. A slight pause is all that is needed. Pause too long and you give the impression that you are hesitant or evasive. If you must disagree, the slightest pause is very important. If you respond with an immediate no, it makes others feel that you are not interested enough to take time with their problems. Number 3, don't insist on winning 100%. When we get into an argument, most of us attempt to prove that we are totally in the right and others are wrong. Skillful persuaders always concede something and find some points of agreement. If the other person has a point in their favor, acknowledge it. If you give in on minor and unimportant points, others will be more likely to give in to the big thing. Number 4, state your case moderately and accurately. We have to watch the tendency to exaggerate when our ideas are opposed. Calmly stated facts are the most effective in getting others to change their minds. Forceful methods may seem to work at first. You can beat another down, show them up, get them to a point where they can't say a thing. Your audience applauds. You have won the argument, or so it seems. But the other person has not accepted your viewpoint and will not act upon your ideas. Number 5, speak through third parties. A lawyer who wants to win cases rounds up witnesses who testify to the points he wants to put over to the jury. The argument is more convincing if disinterested third parties describe events. Salespeople use testimonials of satisfied customers. Candidates for political office solicit endorsement. Speaking through third parties can be particularly valuable when there is a difference of opinion and you want others to see things your way. People are naturally skeptical of you when you say things to your own advantage. Additionally, statements by third parties are much less likely to arouse the egos of others. Statistics, records, history, and quotes can all be cited. Number 6. Allow others to save face. There will be many times that others would gladly change their minds and agree with you except for one thing. They have already made a definite commitment, a strong stand, and cannot change position in good grace. To agree with you requires them to admit that they were wrong. Skillful persuaders know how to leave the door open so that others can escape from the previous position without losing face. Otherwise, they may find themselves prisoners of their own logic. If you can persuade another, you not only must convince them, but you must also know how to rescue them for their own argument. The first method is to assume that they did not have all the facts. I felt the same way about it at first until I ran across this information which changed the picture. The second method is to suggest some way that they can pass the buck to the another. Chapter 10, Giving Praise. Praise releases energy. Ever notice how when someone praise you a sincere compliment or thanks you for a job well done, your spirit seems to soar? Praise gives us new energy and new life. The lift that you get from praise is not an illusion, nor is it your imagination. In some way, actual physical energy is released. At this point, you may be thinking, what has praise got to do with getting along with people? The answer is everything. Few of us realize just how important it is to be given credit for one's work, to be accorded recognition and praise for a job well done. People everywhere are hungry for praise and appreciation. When we give others what they hunger for, they are much more likely to be generous in giving us what we want from them. Perform a small miracle each day. Anytime you can give another's spirit a lift or imbue them with more life and energy, you are performing a small miracle. It's simple. All you have to do is give sincere praise to someone each day and notice how it actually enables them to do better. Honest praise and giving credit where it is due not only makes people feel better but allows them to work more productively. When bonuses and profit sharing are based on merit as a means of recognizing worth to the company, production improves. Be generous with kind statements. Don't wait until people do something big or unusual to praise them. If someone does you a small favor, show your appreciation and give them credit by saying thank you. Look for things for which you can thank people. Say those kind words. Let people know how you feel. Don't take it for granted that people know you appreciate them. Tell them. When you let people know that you appreciate their actions, it makes them want to do more and better. Rules for saying thank you. Number 1. Thanks should be sincere. Say it as if you mean it. Put some meaning and life into it. Don't let it be offhand or routine. Make it special. Number 2. Don't mumble it. Speak up. Don't act as if though you are half ashamed to have to thank someone. Number 3. Thank people by name. Personalize your thanks by naming people. If there are several people in the group to be thanked, don't just say thanks everyone, but name each person. Number 4. Look at people when you thank them. If they are worth being thanked, they are worth being looked at. Number 5. Work at thanking people. Consciously and deliberately begin to look for things for which to thank others. Number 6. Thank people when they least expect it. A thank you is even more powerful when others don't expect it or necessarily feel that they deserve it. You can boost your own happiness by deliberately looking for good things in others. In doing things, it takes our minds off ourselves. It makes us less self-conscious, less self-righteous, and more tolerant and understanding. One of the sure earmarks of unhappy people is that they are overly critical. They deliberately look for things with which to find fault. When they change their attitude to look for good things in people, their own happiness increases. No one is perfect. It is said that there is good in everyone. If there is someone who irritates you, begin looking for something for which you can compliment them. If they bite your head off, maybe they have nice teeth. So compliment them on their teeth. Keep looking for things to praise. Not only will it change them, but it will change your opinion of them. The important aspects of administrating praises are: number one, it must be sincere. Mere flattery is transparent and accomplishes nothing. There is always something that deserves praise if you look for it. It is far better to praise people for something little and mean it than something big and be insincere. Number two, praise the act or the attribute rather than the person. Praise people for what they do rather than who they are. When you praise an act or an attribute, your praise is specific and sounds more sincere. People know exactly what they are being praised for. Increase your own happiness and peace of mind by paying 5 sincere compliments a day as recommended in Chapter 2. Chapter 11, criticizing others without offending them. Most of them, when we say to people, I'm telling you this for your own good, we are not. We are pointing out some fault in them to bolster our own ego. One of the most common failings in human relations is the way we attempt to increase our own feeling of self worth by lowering the self esteem of others. However, there are going to be times when we must point out errors and correct those working with or for us done correctly. This is truly an art, and one that few have mastered. Look at criticism in a new light, because the art of effective criticism is so little known, and because most people are so inept at it, the word criticism leaves a bad taste in our mouths. But the real art of criticism is not to beat others down, but to build them up. It is not to hurt feelings, but to help people do a better job. The essentials of successful criticism. Number one, criticism must be made in absolute privacy. If you want your criticism to take effect, you must not engage the other's ego against you. Remember, your goal is to achieve a good end result, not to deflate their ego. Even if you have pure motives and the right spirit, it's how they feel about it that counts. The mildest form of criticism made in the presence of others is likely to be resented. Justified or not, they lose face before their associates. Whether or not you observe this rule is a good indication of your real motives in criticizing. Do you criticize only when you have an audience? If so, your real purpose is not to help others but to derive ego satisfaction. Number two, preface criticism with a kind word or compliment. Kind words, compliments, and praise have the effect of creating a friendly atmosphere. It puts others at ease and keeps their defense down. Praise and compliments open minds to what needs to be said. Number third, make the criticism impersonal. Criticize the act, not the person. Here again, you can sidestep egos by criticizing actions or behavior, not the person. By pinpointing your criticism to their actions, you can pay them a compliment and build up their ego at the same time. I know from past experience that this error is not typical of your usual performance. Number 4, supply the answer. When you tell others what they did wrong, tell them how to do it right. The emphasis should be not on the mistake but on the way to correct it and avoid a reoccurrence. One of the biggest complaints is, I don't know what is expected of me. Most people are anxious to do right if you tell them what right is. Number 5, ask for cooperation, don't demand it. Asking always brings more cooperation than demanding. Will you make these corrections? Arouses much less resentment than do this over and this time see that you get it right. You'll get much further if you give people an incentive for wanting to change rather than issuing an order to do so. Number 6, one criticism to an offense. To call attention to an error one time is justified, twice is unnecessary, 3 times is nagging. Remember your goal in criticizing to get a job done, not to win an ego fight. When you're tempted to dredge up the past or rehash a mistake that is over and done, remember that it is ineffective for you to keep harping. Number 7, finish in a friendly fashion. Until an issue has been resolved on a friendly note, it hasn't been finished. Don't leave things hanging to be brought up later. Get it settled and bury it. Finish with a vote of confidence. I know I can count on you. Thank you so much for reading this book.